Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very large winter storm that could be occurring across the United States. It hasn't started yet. It hasn't made landfall, if you will, across even the western United States, and it will though. And into tonight and tomorrow, it will quickly, very quickly, start lighting up the radars with blues and greens, and it will start producing pretty good amounts of snow for the Sierra, into the Sierra Nevada, right, into Utah, into portions of the Colorado Rockies, and it will then spread out into portions of the plains. And there, it could definitely drop quite a bit of snow. There is still some uncertainty. For example, cities like Minneapolis, they're right on the cusp of seeing potentially, half a foot to a foot of snow, or just seeing an event of up to really just maybe 3 to 5 inches, so snow nonetheless, but it's kind of the difference between a larger or a smaller storm. Cities like Green Bay, same thing, and there's many cities like that all along that are much smaller. Sioux City, Sioux Falls, that could be kind of on the cusp of seeing heavier and lighter events. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Exactly, but I'll be going over the details where we have confidence and whatnot, and I'll be showing you different weather models of kind of different perspectives of this one storm. Because if I just show you one weather model and just say, oh, it may be wrong or not, you don't get a good idea of what the change could be. And I think just looking at one thing from one perspective can be deceiving. So we got to look at it from many perspectives, and that's what I'm going to do. So, yes, get ready now for those areas, especially if you're under watch or warning for your area. It's a pretty nasty system. It's nothing legendary. Definitely you've seen worse, but it is a system that's probably the biggest for your area of the year thus far. And if you are new to this channel, I do want to say hello. Consider subscribing, consider liking the video, consider checking out the channel. Obviously, see if you do enjoy it first, and then consider subscribing and liking. Don't do it just because I told you so. And if you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below as I answer and get to many, if not most. Okay, so first off, I want to look at this weather map, right? So I've had this pulled up already for a while, but this is a National Weather Service map. It just forecasts for the U.S. and again, so that's why it doesn't show Canada, but I will talk about Canada over that system, what it will do when it reaches Canada. But notice, these are just the weather kind of watches. There is a severe weather threat on Friday from this system, but again, that is a bit further away. And we have winter weather advisories, which means kind of a lower end, a winter weather warning, really not as powerful, lighter amounts, and you can see that's for the mountains, much of Nevada, and into Utah. But right there towards eastern Utah and into western Colorado, we start seeing winter storm warnings. That's when the system will start intensifying, and that will produce a lot more snow, and that you can see those warnings stretch now into Nebraska, into Wyoming, and anywhere you see those darker colors, not the purple, but the darker colors, those are watches, and that's where the National Weather Service is confident there could be quite a bit of snow, and quite a bit of snow there could be. You could see some of these areas like Sioux Falls, Sioux City, definitely on alert. You could see that potential of 4 to 6 to 8 inch amounts. They have this kind of individually drawn out. Definitely very likely for 2 or more. I would say pretty darn likely for 4 or more, and potentially over 8. Though again, I would say that at this point, this area will probably not be seeing the 8-inch amounts. It will be kind of weakening. It will be very strong once it leaves the mountains, weakens right here, and re-strengthens as it enters the Great Lakes. So that's when, especially across the UP, there could be some very, very healthy amounts of snow. And let me just click on this office. There has been lake effect already for many of these locations, but a city like Sault Ste. Marie maybe definitely getting in for a lot of snow from this snow system into Friday and Saturday. For now, they just have snow showers, but I do think it's looking like a pretty good event for you. So let's start talking about this. First off, I'll show you what the National Weather Service currently has for snowfall. Notice, yes, this is in a layout of a model, but it shows us the National Weather Service snowfall amount. So what they think currently with the most up-to-date information. It's updated hourly, so it's pretty darn up-to-date. And you can see that what we do have is quite a bit of snow across in the mountains, and that is good. They need this, especially for the central portion of the Sierra, which is good. The northern portions have been getting a bit more. Still, they need it, and they will be getting their fair share, especially in the long range. I'll show you some of the amounts that could be headed for the California area. But look at all those mountains, various ranges, potentially over 2.5 feet of snow, which would be very, very good. And notice that once it reaches the plains, this is what I was talking about. It's pretty intense across the panhandle of Nebraska and into southern South Dakota, right? But once it reaches these areas, it gets a bit weaker. You can see the amounts, kind of the 6+ inches, or kind of the 6+ criteria gets a bit less frequent, and it's not as it's not as common, but right there it starts re-intensifying, and we see even a potential widespread area of 12 inches plus across the UP, eastern UP. Now, this is just what they think right now, but for cities like Minneapolis, that is a very close call. We'll have to see. Right now, the National Weather Service has you kind of in between. It has you right on that 5 to 6 inch cusp, and to be honest, if I were to make a guess on where this will be headed towards, I think they're going to bump some of the amounts up, and they would probably include the Twin Cities in the warning, because looking at the weather ensembles, it looks as if most models are starting to trend towards a bit more towards the north. So that may mean, lighter amounts for cities like maybe Green Bay, but heavier for cities like Minneapolis. So there's always several cities kind of on the winning or losing end of the stick, if you will, with even with a slight shift of what the storm may pose. And again, it's not far out. You could see that tonight by 6 a.m. or 12 a.m. it's already pretty much making its impact onto California. Or maybe not quite, but between 12 and 6 it definitely starts. Look how quickly it lights up. And by tomorrow 12 p.m. it is definitely occurring across much of the west. You're feeling the impacts. It's going to be raining across Southern California. Nothing extraordinary, but definitely some rain. Notice that there is going to be a bit of snow into Wisconsin and the UP out ahead of this system right there, which is definitely something to watch for. But notice, look at these colors. They intensify. A lot of the mountains here are seeing decent amounts of snowfall, and yes, that's going to be very good. They need that snow. 6 p.m. This is tomorrow in the evening. You could see that it's still occurring across much of the west, the heavy snow, and this continues spreading into Colorado, Wyoming, and much of the Dakotas. We see a lot of that snowfall. We see South Dakota or Minnesota starting to pick up on that snow. And this is, again, where that system is still pretty strong, so you can see the panhandles of Nebraska or the panhandle of Nebraska is still going to be seeing some decent snow, but notice it doesn't have a warm side of the system yet. It's not really strengthening, and this is why some of the mounts here can be weaker. Now look what the GFS does. Definitely a more northern track with the GFS. You can see it shows snow across Minneapolis. This is 12 p.m. on December 10th, which is Friday. And with this scenario, this would bring a lot of snow into Minneapolis. And you can see right there, boom, it starts re-intensifying. We see a warm sector to this. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, you're all seeing rain. But what that does is it refuels that system for, say, Wisconsin, right? The kind of the main head, the northern part of Wisconsin, the upper area of upper peninsula of Michigan. I was looking for that word. Wanted to call it an upper island, but I know that didn't sound right. And notice those colors get deeper, right? And as it spreads into Canada, those snowfall amounts will get pretty high. And I do want to say, however, that snow won't be occurring across, say, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, where the majority of Canadians live along these large cities. That's going to be mainly rain. Quite a bit of heavy rain for you. The snow is going to be a bit further towards the north. And what the models have been doing, which has increased these snowfall amounts, is that they don't just take the system and skedaddle it out of here. They intensify it, but they also slow it down. So notice this system right here, it's pretty strong. It's snowing across the Twin Cities. This is late Saturday or late Friday into Wisconsin, Iowa, and boom, look, it starts shifting more towards the north. So some of these areas, like central Wisconsin, are under snow for a longer period of time. Same with the UP, and even some of that with like models like the European, they take this and they bring that pretty far to the south, clipping areas like Illinois, Indiana with some snow. So that's definitely not going to cause a massive snowstorm for you, but it could be a brief hour or two of snow opportunity, and of course it could slow down the system overall, leading to heavier amounts. Well, you could see that cold front right there is where that severe weather potential will be, right? And this is, again, just one model, but you can see it targets early Saturday morning for that severe weather, which is honestly a very odd time. Usually it's in the evening, but with storms like this, in the winter time, they don't really care. The severe weather can occur at any time because it's usually associated of when that system strengthens, not really of when the daytime heating is. Okay, and notice that we do see that cold front stretching to the northeast and produce quite a bit of rain. So again, this is just one model, and there was a lot of information there to process. That's why I'm talking fast. But if you were to take a look at the total accumulated precipitation from this system, you can see decent amount, right? And you can see especially where that snow belt occurs before it intensifies. It's mainly where that precip falls. Do note that there is quite a bit of precip across California and portions of the west from this system, so that is definitely appreciated for the drought. But let's take a look at the total snowfall. That's what everybody kind of wants to know. And look, so we have that decent stripe of heavy snow. Notice, again, it's more towards the north than what the National Weather Service is currently going with, the latest GFS model. And look, it does start showing some amounts of up to potentially a foot across Wisconsin and into Michigan. So that would definitely be a stronger system, and it intensifies. We're pretty much reaching its peak across the western Great Lakes, which would be, again, right here. And again, Green Bay potentially right on a cusp of a decent to very significant snowfall. Minneapolis, maybe even Madison picking up a few inches. And again, this is just one model. As much as I could say that I wish this would just be the ultimate scenario, it's not. Now let me click on a different model, and notice right off the bat, I hope you noticed that it's a narrower path. Notice Green Bay is not really in it, Minneapolis is in it, right? But we do have a lot of heavier snow across the Dakotas. That little area where we see Sioux Falls and it's kind of, Iowa, South Dakota border, and almost the four corners of the Midwest, if you will. Not quite though. That's where the Canadian shows a lot more snow compared to the GFS. So that's already a difference that we'll have to watch for, and see which one's more accurate. And it does show a very good swath of a foot and a half plus across the UP and into Michigan and Wisconsin. And again, this is the same model. It's a similar layout of the storm, right? At least it's not in a completely different region of the country, because that would be very, very, very confusing. But you could see that that just a little bit of a tweak, and we have potentially double the amounts of snow for cities like Sioux Falls, where the GFS shows barely 6 inches. This model shows over a foot. So again, there's our system. It's developing over tonight and into tomorrow. By tomorrow, 12 p.m., 6 p.m., it is raging across the southern kind of Rockies into the west. And look, by Colorado, or by the time tomorrow reaches at midnight, we see snow across Colorado, we see Utah, we see Wyoming, seeing lots and lots of snow. So that's definitely good news. Right, they need that. And again, it's a more northern scenario with the Canadian. And look, the thing is, the key difference, look how heavy that initial snow is right there. Much heavier than what the GFS shows. And it doesn't really show a weakening system. It strengthens all along. It doesn't go through a brief phase of weakening before it re-intensifies. It just re-intensifies, or I should say continues intensifying all the way. And again, you could see Minneapolis would get clobbered by this. Not only an accumulating event, but a significant accumulating event, potentially up to 6 to 12 inches. And again, it does start taking more of that northward track. So then again, some of those amounts some of those snowfall totals are increased because it's a slower system. And you can see some of that starts wrapping into Illinois, Wisconsin. Some of that snowfall starts wrapping up right there. And as we start seeing that cold front again, it targets it across the Ohio Valley at around 6 a.m., right? So that's very similar timing as the GFS. So you can see there are similarities. They both show that system right there, affecting these areas with their severe weather at similar times. It's just that, for example, right there across these areas, it shows a much stronger system, the Sioux Falls, Sioux City kind of region. And again, if it's, more southerly track, maybe Omaha could get in on some of this snow. Maybe Lincoln can. But if it's more northern track, then they won't, and it'll be more of a Minneapolis threat. You could see Minneapolis could get clobbered if a scenario like this were to occur, and Green Bay would be right on a cusp of seeing snow, but they really wouldn't, right? And I could show you that this is the Canadian at that same time frame, but this model run was from 12 hours ago. You could see it's shifted slightly towards the north in the last 12 hours. How about the 12 hours before that? Even further towards the south, you could see that there's been definitely a slight northward shift, but then again, it's not definitive enough to kind of answer the question of whether or not Minneapolis or Green Bay, or which one of those cities will be on the receiving end of heavy snow. And again, there's a lot of still differences, for those small little details, and it probably will be up until the storm actually starts occurring, and we'll be able to see. But notice there's our system. This is the European model, yet another model. It doesn't have the nice convenient timing as the tropical tidbits has, but this is tomorrow late at night, or sorry, 6 p.m. This is tomorrow at midnight. You can see it's occurring across the Rockies right into California throughout much of the day tomorrow. It starts abating California by tomorrow late in the afternoon and evening, and starts spreading out onto the plains with its little paws, its snowy paws. And you can see that by Friday morning and into the afternoon, it's definitely occurring across much of the South Dakota area, Nebraska, southern Minnesota, maybe getting into Minneapolis again. The European taking it on a more northern track. So you can see pretty much all the models that I showed you here show a more northern scenario than what the National Weather Service has. So, right now there aren't winter storm watches for Minneapolis, and there's just to the south, but If I were to take a guess, I would say that most likely there will be an extension of this into your area. Even if it isn't officially, I would say that that's a mistake then from the National Weather Service. And I do think that if they don't do that, the snowstorm doesn't apply by, oh, there's no winter storm warning, I won't come here. No, it will still do what most models show it to do. And you could still see, even though there isn't a winter storm warning for, well, for this one, there is a winter storm watch. It's a decent snow, right? 2 to 4, 1 to 3, and this is just south of Minneapolis and St. Paul. But if I were to take a look just at, Minneapolis, St. Paul, just north of that warning or watch, that's still a decent snowfall, 3 to 6 inches. So I do think that there definitely will be a increase of these warnings up towards the north, especially with all of these models. All three that I showed you, it's not like an argument between them. All three are starting to favor more of this northern scenario. You could see lots of rain, the severe weather threat not yet developing, but by Saturday in the morning, we do start seeing a lot of that threat occurring. Now again, look at this. So the European does slow the system down significantly. You can see that it starts taking the snow band and it brings snow into cities like Des Moines, even into Omaha, even with a more northern scenario. With the European, it's the most slowest scenario, and you can see we have intensification all the way into, say, central Wisconsin. If you saw the Canadian and GFS maybe show 1 to 2 inches for central Wisconsin in the wraparound, this one, the European, it shows a lot of snow, decent amounts to us, say the least. A brief burst of 1 to 3 inches definitely possible. Bring some of that into maybe the Chicago area, maybe into Michigan, right? And it's a very strong system, very, very strong winds out behind it, quite a bit of rain out ahead of it for lots of southern Canada, and it does develop that nasty cold front, which could be delivering quite a bit of that severe weather. And let's take a look at some of those precip amounts, assuming, this is again snow and rain included. Look at that. That's some encouraging signs. Decent rains for the California and the West. Nothing, record breaking, but decent. And where that severe weather does occur, those stripes of the thunderstorms, easily an inch to 2 inches could be dropped. In terms of total snowfall, this is what everyone wants. Let's take a look at it. Total snowfall, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which again, some of it may be a bit higher. You can see the European does take a bit of a break right there. Keeps it a bit weaker, but it does quickly start re-intensifying it with, again, a bit of a broader snow spread, especially if it starts shifting more towards the north. But still, potentially over a foot across by the time it reaches into the UP and what's not. So that's the European, and that's just a few models, because we do have the high-res ones. Like, look at this. This is an 84-hour of the, pretty much a high-res of the Canadian that I showed you. And let's take a look at its most recent model run. Boom, right there. Right, look at it. It shows definitely several different kind of unique things about it. It brings that snow towards the north. It keeps a wider spread on this system. How about the NAM? This is a North American model. I'm just speedrunning these now. And look at this one. This one shows almost a foot just south of Minneapolis. Now, that would be quite an event, and it shows well over 6 inches, even, pushing towards St. Cloud. So that is definitely an event that could happen, and you can see these models aren't exactly precisely agreeing on this. Look at the Canadian. I already showed you this model. Why am I showing you this? United Kingdom model. This is a decent model. You can see it keeps it lighter overall. Keeps more snow into Green Bay, right? Lighter into Nebraska and into South Dakota. And I do want to show you one more thing, right? So you've been noticing that I've been talking about the Southwest seeing a lot of precip, but I've been hinting, I don't know if you've noticed, at a larger significant system. And this is something we'll have to watch after this one occurs. And so we have this one, right? Again, that's already a significant on its own, but what we have to watch for is this beast right here. That may not look significant, but look what it does, and look how it affects the Southwest with precip. I mean, that could be a monster in terms of snow. I saw many models put over potentially triple digits in the mountains alone from this system. Yes, 100 inches of snow. And you can see that thing lasts for a while. It's a monster, and obviously once it moves out into the Midwest, not only is it pumping warm air, so we could have a midweek heat wave next week. Wednesday, Thursday, if you live across really anywhere east of the Rockies, there could be 60s and 70s all the way up into Illinois, Wisconsin. Yeah, this is definitely something to watch for. So if you're still watching this at the end of this video, I'm glad you stayed, because this is probably as impactful as this upcoming storm will be. This could mean obviously a couple of things. Bad if you don't like the heat in December, but also good if you still have some stuff kind of you want to get done for the colder months that are definitely still yet to come. Even though this may seem a bit extraordinary that there's 60s in December, and yes, I do gotta admit that this is kind of a bittersweet thing. I don't like seeing 60s in December, But I mean, come on, that will feel nice. And look what this beast does. It develops into an absolute monster. That's a blizzard. It's a quick moving one, but that's a blizzard. And I mean, it brings rain well into southern Canada and Minnesota. So yes, and it's a powerful storm. So behind it, yes, obviously more normal, cool air moves in. But yeah, the amount of precip it could drop across the west is just extraordinary. And while that's occurring, it's just pumping air. And I want to show you this because I think this is as extraordinary as what I've been showing you with the snowstorm, which is exciting. But Minneapolis, you could see up to half a foot of snow with this system. But look, next week, look what starts happening. You see 40s, 50s, cities like Chicago. I mean, much of Iowa, much of Missouri, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Texas, maybe some 70s, 80s, probably even some lower 90s in extreme southern Texas. Look at that, boom, 60 across the same cities and areas that could be seeing heavy snow this upcoming weekend. I mean, that's extraordinary, to be honest with you. And well, to be honest, I'm always honest. Just I always say that because it's a phrase that's stuck with me. And yeah, I mean, you can see obviously temperatures do cool down after that, but goodness, some of these are just extremes. That is extraordinary. Some of these temperatures, and obviously the temperature anomalies. I want to show you this, especially on this website, because this website shows it better. So the GFS, by the way, that was a European. The GFS still shows that second insane system very similarly, and it also shows a ton of warm air for the eastern United States, and the anomalies are off the charts, quite literally. That's the last little box right there. So yeah, I mean, take that as a treat or a trick from nature. Even though it's not Halloween, I don't know why I use that, but I mean, 60s potentially even during the nighttime hours, like 12 a.m. That's extraordinary, folks. All right, that's basically it, though, for today's video. Again, stay safe. This system is coming, and it's going to be dropping quite a bit of snow. I think some of these amounts are still a bit muted compared to what could be occurring. And let's see what the most recent National Weather Service update. Yeah, you can see relatively the same. Not much has changed. But, yeah. I did look at some ensembles, by the way, earlier, European ensembles, and many models show an even more aggressive scenario from that snowstorm, the first one, than what the main ones I showed you. So just be prepared, guys. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.